So, a very, very good afternoon and a warm welcome to our SCS panel discussion. Full circularity, food contact, inspired by design and empowered by Styrenics. It is today our second time that we are at K, having given our debut at K 2019. And in 2019, the discussion was really about the unique circularity potential that we were expecting polystyrene to have. By now, 3 years down the road, our confidence has moved on to a different level. So the discussion is more that the value chain now has proven the unique circularity for polystyrene to go back into food contact over and over again. And today, as we stand here, we would like to explore with you how the low-carbon polystyrene for food contact can actually go the extra mile, can be boosted by circular design, and that we have all the feedstock available to help us really scale up the capacities for doing so. And before we jump into it, I would like to just talk a little bit about some housekeeping remarks. You may have seen those who are not connected to Wi-Fi. We have here passcode recycled polystyrene for food contact materials, and that should enable you to, if you would like to ask questions, to go to our Slido tool. So we have received in advance already a couple of questions sent to us. We have noted these and will cover these. But also you find on your seats a little leaflet. And if you turn that leaflet around, you have here a QR code. And if you scan the QR code, this one takes you directly to Slido. And you can type in a short question that we will capture and then do our best to go through your questions towards the end of the session. One last housekeeping remark. You see that we have here a camera team. So just in case that you are aware if anybody is feeling camera shy. And we will obviously tape this discussion and make the recording available for you later on. Having said that, over to our panel. Let me introduce the expert panel that we have here. Over to Jens Kartmann, probably known by everybody, our Secretary General from SCS. Jürgen Priesters, Head of TOMRA Feedstocks. David Eslava Sanchez, who is Deputy Managing Director from Eslava Plasticos, but he's also here in his function that he is board member of the Recyclers Management Committee and also chair of the PS Technical Group. Then we have here Ian Sturgis, Procurement Officer from CoExpan, who will bring in the converter perspective. And last but not least, we have Florian Trouchet from France. He's from Yoplait, and he will bring in the brand owner perspective. Wonderful. That leaves me to basically kick it off, the discussion. So Jens, 3 years ago at K 2019 and down to the road to now, what are the key highlights or lowlights that you have seen up to now?
Yeah, I would say, fortunately, not too many lowlights in my opinion. However, if you look a bit back at K 2019, when we made our debut, I think what we knew already was that polystyrene, I also like to include all styrenic polymers, and that have this intrinsic capability and capacity for really being recycled and so for also delivering a bit of significant contribution to the European recycling targets. Yeah, this was known in a way, and we had also already 3 technologies. We knew there is mechanical recycling, dissolution, and depolymerization. And we knew that this, what we have in our polymer, if we really get it started with our value chain, which is an important fact in this to mention as well, that we really can, in a rather short reaction period, because it was not much time, to really convert things into action and to reality. So if we compare to 22 right now, I would say we have really built on this awareness, what our polymers are capable of. This intrinsic capacity and sortability for sorting collection, moreover in the technologies. And here one highlight is the food contact. It's all for food contact now established, which is rather important on high quality recycling. And you have seen it most likely in the press releases and all the communication. We come on top with a low carbon footprint, minus 80% in all our technologies towards the virgin production plus incineration. We came up with the comprehensive life cycle assessment around that. And also, if you have seen our press releases, we have EFSA, means our polymers are really decontaminating, purified in a nice, probable and possible manner in order to go into food contact. And also the last one I like to mention is the ABA dossier, where we've proven the suitability of polystyrene as a functional barrier. So a lot of homework in rather 2 years, but I look back at 2019 and 22, and even I would say, wow, we made a big progress.
Wonderful, and we will go into the details in a little bit further. Jürgen, you bring in the feedstock perspective and the sorting perspective. So in 2019, you have already been here on this panel, and you talked about the ease of sortability that was questioned at that time for polystyrene. So how has sorting developed since then?
Yeah, it was like this. So ease of sortability of polystyrene and even blends between the different polystyrene types. In the meanwhile, yeah, we have a little bit optimized, to take the ABA, and the B is black sometimes, that we can recognize at least a big portion of that one to make the final recyclate a little bit more white. And the second one is we have massively invested to sort food contact versus non-food contact, which is a precondition. So this is working now as well.
Excellent. And when we talk about sorting capabilities, then you have which technologies at the start? Maybe you can add that.
So it was 3 years ago, to get back to this one, it was simply a near-infrared sensor to detect material, GPP or HIPS or whatsoever, SIN. That was in combination with the color sensor, 16 different colors, channels, not only RGB or LRB, so 3. So it was already 16 to have a kind of fine-tune in a specific white. And that has added, especially to the food and non-food contact, with we call it in TOMRA gain unit, which is an object recognition. So a very high-speed camera, enabling everything to see what we can see with our eyes. So all of us can see the difference between a paint box of white polystyrene or a dairy product yogurt pot. Visible with our eyes means you need to train a computer, neural network, and you train the computer, this is food and this is non-food. So it sounds simple, you just need to feed the computer with thousands of pictures, because both items, the food and the non-food, are not always like in a supermarket. They're squeezed or a little bit destroyed or a little bit dirty or whatsoever. So that means you need to feed plenty of information, but once done, these systems, these neural networks are kind of self-learning. So improving. And by that, today, the 95 food contact from a PS mix, and then HIPS white food contact is not anymore an issue.
And we will hear a little bit later why that is so important, why we need to recognize that waste has had food contact origin. Over to David. Again, Jürgen said 3 years ago that most polystyrene applications are already quite nicely designed. However, the value chain wants to go a step further. From a recycler's perspective, David, what are the eco-design pain points, gain points?
Well, first of all, I would like to start from the beginning. I would like to explain why we are here today discussing these points. If you remember, in 2019, the European Commission released the plastic strategy. So we have at this moment 2 targets. One of these is by 2030, all the plastic packaging must be reusable and recyclable in an economic manner. This is the first one. The second one is by 2025, 10 million tons of recyclates can be used in products annually. So for this reason, Recyclass has been created with the vision to make plastic packaging more circular. So Design for Recycling guidelines, that is one of the pillars of this platform, has been developed to help the industry to go ahead faster, to accelerate this transition, and to make the plastic packaging more circular, if any. So well, this is the target for Recyclass, and all the value chain is inside. So this is the good point that all the opinions and the discussions can be done inside this platform. This is important. And even these documents have been used today for the Circular Plastic Alliance in order to to define the essential requirements and the standards for the future plastic packaging that you are going to put in the market. So so we are talking at the highest European level at this point. So well, the benefits for to improve the eco-design, by improving the eco-design, are many. But one of them is to increase the efficiency for sorting. So this is clear. But not only this, we can increase the yield, talking about quantity and of course quality, when you are improving the eco-design. You have more feedstock for the converters in order to use in a higher quality, like polystyrene and yogurt cups, for example. This is the sample that everybody knows. But not only this also, APR schemes will have less cost. It means you are going to run all the whole system with the same facilities, recycling facilities, but with more yield and more quantities. So you are not going to waste energy, water, etc. Even the LCA will be better. Okay. Talking about the specific polystyrene technical committee, well, we are looking for the stream that we call dairy products, mainly composed by yogurts, trays, and other kind of dairy products, mainly. So we already know, our experience tell us that today polystyrene cups are already well designed. But of course, we have room for improvement. And the Design for Recycling guidelines allows you to check if your packaging is very well designed or not, so you can decide where you can go. Because recycling is not black or white. We are talking about class ranking from A to F. So the first step is to assess the packaging to know what's the next step.
Excellent. Excellent, thank you for that. And Ian, now from a converter perspective, you don't need to be focused on one material. What does polystyrene hold for you from a converter perspective?
Hi, Chrissy. Well, let me just start off by saying that I look around the room and I feel immensely proud being here today, because not only is it the first time the full value chain is actually sat together, presenting and sharing the journey we've made, but 3 years ago we were all sat in a room looking at each other saying, Houston, we've got a big problem. And since which, with the help of you guys, the help of the chain, we've really managed to turn around the situation and to bring polystyrene from a status which was, almost dead to becoming a survivor. And now it really is the Rolls-Royce of the materials available. So, we've gone from having a big problem, and we're this far away of saying mission complete. So we just need everyone's collaboration to pull this over the line over the next few months, because we still have the last mile to run. When we look at alternative materials, as you say, CoExpand does have a choice of materials, but in reality, if you look for the path of least resistance, the path of least resistance is to stay in polystyrene. Okay, so let's look at the facts. If you run an FFS line, if you want your machines to run at over 30 cycles per minute, polystyrene and recycled polystyrene is the best and only polymer for you. If energy consumption, and apparently energy is a big issue at the moment, is important for us at the moment in the society, polystyrene consumes less energy because of its processability than any other polymer, okay, at least within its competitors. If material and use less is important, because there are a lot of good people telling us to use less plastics, alternative materials requires to use more plastics than in polystyrene. So by staying in polystyrene, we're actually putting less plastic into the market, which I think is another very important item. So with all this together, I think that polystyrene has really got the best case moving forwards. And by the way, it's what we already have existing in our facilities. So I think this is great news for everyone, and well done.
So it does well for you for your sustainability targets, I guess. Alrighty, Florian, what does polystyrene bring to you as a dairy brand owner?
I think I will also echo Ian somehow, but to keep it simple, polystyrene brings unique advantages, I would say, for our dairy application. So really, that's why in France, I think 70% of the yogurt market is using form-fill seal polystyrene. So because of all the advantages, so that's not just by chance. That's because it's important for our application. And form-fill seal technology associated to polystyrene really enables to get to a very, very optimized packaging. So basically this one. This very optimized packaging allows to get in a very, very low quantity of material used. So we can get less than 3 grams of plastic for 1 cup. You can also decrease the number of trucks on the road, because, by the way, we are not buying these cups, we are buying the foils and we are making the cups ourselves. So that's the benefit of FFS, form-fill seal, but associated to polystyrene. And then, to get to your point, when you get to the process, very high, I would say, efficiency of the process, because you have this large range of temperature to form polystyrene, so that enables us to get very, very fast. And last but not least, we have this unique, I would say, property. May I? Snappability. So that's really what we are looking at when we are looking at polystyrene, because that's what people are expected, at least in France, this functionality, having something that is easy, convenient, and functional. And for that, in fact, having circular polystyrene will help us to keep all these technical, economical, environmental advantages of the material while complying with our carbon reduction strategy, because as a food company, we do have carbon reduction strategy. We have also circular economy requirements, so circular polystyrene will meet that. But that's also a way, considering the recycled polystyrene trend, a way to reduce our dependency on non-renewable resources. So for all of that, we need to have this circular polystyrene.
Okay, wonderful. Outlining your sustainability targets, company targets. Now, when we look at the little girl that has really become a little bit of our trademark, and when we root this conversation in the behavior of the consumer, that she's enjoying her yogurt from a yogurt cup with recycled polystyrene and fully circular polystyrene. Now, Jens, can you just briefly remind us, we have different recycling technologies that enable polystyrene to be recycled. How readily can polystyrene go back into food contact with these 3 technologies?
Yeah, I think the good news is in this regard, on readily, the technology readiness level, as it's called, for all 3 technologies is 9+, and a lot of technology is in the market. You will see later on outside in the dialogue forum also the invest scenarios, what is already announced, what is to come. And even, as I always say, important in SCS is what you see, but also what you don't see. So non in SCS, but outside you have a lot of invest ongoing. If you look in France, in depolymerization, for instance, you have in Sweden, this Svensk Plast Gewinnung, who is also in the collection sorting and preparing the feedstock. You have in Belgium like Indaver, which is also mentioned outside, but important to note, depolymerization, dissolution, I think I mentioned it, is in place. We have here Solène Bois from Polystyrene, also member of SCS, now further accelerating the technology. And if you look here at Trenseo and dissolution, or Fernholz is also here, it's already coming really and being offered to the market. And I think that's great news. It's all readily 3 technologies. We don't have to wait chemical recycling, and it's all, again, I repeat myself, food contact.
All right, let's talk food contact. And food contact is, I think, here really the core interest in this room. We have 2 applications for an EFSA opinion that SCS has filed for 2 different mechanical recycling technologies, NIR and GNOIS. And we have been waiting for, very confidently, for a positive EFSA opinion. However, a new regulatory regime has just entered into force last week. Fill us in, Jens, a little bit about what does that mean for those who want to bring the yogurt cup with recycled content to the market, rather today than tomorrow.
Yeah, that's as you mentioned, there was a chain of of reaction, and then at the end, a change of the regime. The former regime 282 2008, and 2008 also tells you a bit the story how old this regime already was, so it was about time to change something. And the new regime came now on 10th of October. It's 2022 1616, just for level of detail, which of course will enable and accelerate recycling for food contact materials. That's the good news. Another good news is also with the technology set up with novel technology. It's called the operators, developers, operators can more or less start immediately working on that.
Yeah.
So it means 10th of October was the timeline, and now of course you can start working in a time span over minimum 24 months, 2 years. You provide data on your technology, regardless which technology, and it's analyzed by EFSA, and then of course by the time you become a suitable technology. This might be all a bit of inside terminus technicus. However, what has to be said as well also on this new regime is in a way that we have to still work here with the value chain and to create the awareness and readiness in order now to really start working and applying novel technologies. And I just can say in full compliance, the good news here is that a lot of work is now starting to comply to the novel technologies and start working. And last comment is depolymerization is also including in that. Means the styrene monomer depolymerization is even more ease of processing, freedom of operation, and the ABA structure I mentioned earlier is also as a novel technology immediately to be then progressed as notification as a novel technology. So it's all about, I would say, good news, but the value chain and the Styrenics industry is now called to move ahead and start working on that. And I think you have a question later on this also. I see it coming.
But first of all, I think the good news is that the dossier, and a lot of work has gone into the 2 dossiers to EFSA with Fraunhofer. All the data, all the scientific data is not lost. We've had a dialogue with EFSA on this, and that will remain the building block for going forward. And the good news is that once the notification is in place, you can bring the product on the market. Yeah, with recycled content. Excellent. All right. And you already said it. You already were talking about ABA. Let's maybe not everybody is so familiar what ABA stands for, and maybe you can also tell a little bit about the Fraunhofer study recently published 3 weeks ago, which confirmed that PS is a safe functional barrier for food contact. Yeah, maybe you can explain a little bit further.
Yeah, it comes what we said earlier. What did we know already in 2019? What we know today? We knew already that this low diffusion property of polystyrene also will enable a good barrier property for polystyrene, regardless virgin or recycled polymer. And as we learned also from Ian, from the stop in solution and recycled polystyrene, we are now proud to tell, and you have seen the press release maybe, that really RPS or virgin PS in an ABA structure means in the middle layer, either virgin or recycled polystyrene is really working as a functional barrier outside A, inside B, 40, 50 microns outside, and you really can achieve then those barrier properties, functional barrier properties you need in order to first of all maintain the safety for food contact applications. And the second important part is you can go between 30 to 50% recycled content with such an ABA structure, which is again good news for the industry in order to come to those, what we heard from David, 10 million tons of recycled product in the market. It brings you another, let's say, opportunity, another choice in order to implement recycled content.
Excellent. So the value chain has now 2 possibilities how to bring mechanically recycled content into food contact products. And let me bring this one over to Ian. For CoExpan, you have already quite extensive experience working with such an ABA structure. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Well, first of all, I'm going to give a very short answer because I think it's important as part of the takeaway of this session that everyone gets one very clear message. Any application, product or format which today is produced in polystyrene recycled polystyrene performs as well as regular fossil polystyrene. So this is a very important message. Anything that you can do today in polystyrene can be done with the recycled polystyrene. In ABA, we've done extensive testing. This is actually 100% RPS. But in ABA, as you mentioned, the Fraunhofer study allows up to 50% recycled polystyrene content. And we've done the tests, and we are amazed and extremely pleased with the results. So with that, we will be putting, and we are currently approving with various customers, different grades, different solutions, and we will be putting this into the market with food safety certification.
Excellent. How does the customer decide between I would like to put into my yogurt cup co-extruded virgin with recycled content, or I go for the ABA solution where I put the recycled polystyrene into the middle layer, into the B layer? What would you advise them?
Well, I'd say that we just have to take a little bit of another step back and think that depending on what the customer's objectives are, if we think of the yogurt cup, it has various properties. One is a marketing property, the other one is a protection and shelf life. So depending on what your objectives are, you have 3 different interchangeable technologies which allow you to achieve those objectives. So first of all, we have to understand what the objectives are, and that'll lead us down a path to providing the right solution. But in any case, whatever the solution that is chosen, polystyrene has an answer for it.
Excellent. And Florian, for you as a brand owner, you've already laid out your sustainability strategy in that. Which way would you go?
I think when it comes to recyclability, the end market is really the key, and specifically for polystyrene. So if you don't have any end market, you don't have any recyclability at scale. I think that's a given. And that's why, in fact, for polystyrene, the solution is to get a yogurt cups to become a yogurt cups again and again. So that the feedstock equal to the end market. So, and if I may, that was the objective of the consortium Polystyrene 25 that was created in France in 2020. Really gathering brand owners, so created by CTO, the French EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility Organization, so gathering brand owners that were willing to accelerate the rise of recycling of polystyrene in France with food contact application. So really, that was key, this food contact application. And I would say, to answer to your question, that in fact we are lucky, because we are lucky that we have lots of technologies. We have lots of solutions to get to this food contact application. So that just means that polystyrene is easy to recycle, that we have plenty of solutions, and that we can foresee that every yogurt cups will become a new yogurt cups, I would say all of them in the near future. And that just demonstrates that, that we have plenty of solutions to fight against plastic littering, but also to reduce our use of non-renewable resources. So my perspective is that we need to pick all these solutions to adapt it appropriately, and at the end, having all yogurt cups recycled to make yogurt cups.
Yeah. And just to add one thing, I mean, we're talking about all the advantages and how beautiful the world of recycled polystyrene is. I would say if there was one con or weakness, if we look at the color, everyone's saying, is mechanically recycled polystyrene white? Can you get pure white? This is 100% recycled post-consumer polystyrene. I don't know if you guys can see it at the back. Later on, you can come forwards. It's pretty much white, okay? But and these are the first trials or the start of the journey. So we can improve depending on what the objectives are and what your targets are. But let us not forget that let's not be too plastic bashing when we come to looking at the color of recycled polystyrene, because when we look at recycled paper, we see a trend where people are actually looking for this off-white, black spots, brown paper cups, these straws, which, forgive me, I mean, I don't know whether to call them straws. And even if you look at a bottle, I mean, this is gray. So let's not get too hung up about pure white when already we are very much accepting this kind of recycled image, and it's something that we all look for actively on the supermarkets.
Yeah. And just to add on that, I think you mentioned this also. I mean, now since we are in the really conversion into market and the extra mile for design for recycling kicks in, it's also a matter of choice, and it becomes a marketing argument either to show it's recycled or to select one of the technologies. For instance, if you compare mechanical with depolymerization, of course you can get a pure white. You can also get a pure white in mechanical recycling. It's a matter of complexity and your choice and design for recycling aspects where you say, I want people to see it's recycled, or I go for the drop-in, same virgin as recycled, and then you market it this way. But I think important is really we more and more come also into those marketing discussions right now. The more concrete, the more successful we get, that this becomes an issue also positively, because you have the burden of choice between technologies.
The burden of choice.
I think there is one difference which we have forgotten. In the PET example, or polypropyl whatsoever, you get the grayish, yellowish, whatever, due to the properties of the material.
That's true. Yeah.
Your yellowish in the PS is because of somebody's putting a black B layer in between. So if we would have a pure white, it will stay pure white, right? Looking to,
And
for
transparent,
example,
would stay transparent, yes.
the chemist.
And maybe
So it's a different reason that, you know, the other polymer is getting this different color than in PS.
excellent. And I think that brings in directly David from a design for recycling perspective, having less of a black color.
Yeah, this is a good discussion also. In fact, we are looking for we're looking to create a design for recycling guidelines in white or natural, because we want to maintain the color future. I mean, so it's not only a question of color, but also adhesives or even inks, direct printing. So this is that we are working in our design for recycling guidelines to maintain these color features, because it's the best way to to keep the circular economy in this kind of packaging. So this is the discussion today. This is how I think is the correct way that we need to go. Even we are doing in many other polymers. PET is clear, bottles is an example, but HDPE, PP, all you can maintain or remain the add value for the color, because you can make it more circular. So you have this advantage for that. So Recyclass is working on that, and we need to know what will be the best design to maintain this value to go again for this white color.
So
And maybe one remark, because maybe David cannot speak so proud or on Recyclass, but I really like to stress how important Recyclass really is for us, because for the value chain, for the brand owners, for the perception, for the certification, the seal of approval on recycled content, recyclability, and the other thing David mentioned earlier, formerly in regulation you found those so-called essential requirements on packaging, which is now in the body of Recyclass. Yeah? So there is a bit of a recognition and high value of Recyclass also for existing and new regulation to have this Recyclass seal of approval, have your articles, your yogurt pots, conformity to Recyclass, because it's really the, let's say, positively entry barrier in order to move forward. And recyclability, as you all know, is a key functionality. We have seen it already in France. We will see it soon in a wider regulatory aspect. Recyclability of products becomes the key driver of really staying in the circular concert. If you're not recyclable or hard to recycle, your life is at least very difficult. Yeah, so Recyclass is really important.
And the last word, David, on the guidelines that are already in place
Well,
for polystyrene.
Yeah, well, adding to Jens' comment, yeah, you are right. This is a guideline at the end, but this is a document that the Circular Plastic Alliance is taking in account to define these essential requirements. So it will be enforced in the next years or as soon as possible. So, but on the other hand, we have also the designs for recycling guidelines for color containers. So it's not only white. The world is not only one color. So we have both. So at the end, the brand owner needs to decide, because again, I repeat, this is not black or white. This is a class ranking from A to F. So they can decide what's the level of recyclability that they can achieve.
Excellent. And before we dwell a little bit further into that, I would like to capture the perspective from Ian, from a converter perspective. So talking a lot about the uptake, about recycled polystyrene. What are the targets of Co-Expand as a converter? What is the support that you're given to brand owners with regard to incorporating recycled polystyrene into products?
So we have in Co-Expand a target to be able to deliver to the market 30% recycled content by 2025, and we hope to be even beyond that, and certainly closer, if not higher than 50% by 2030, okay? And this is being delivered through our new recycling organization, which is led by Gonzalo Sanchez, under the stewardship of Dinis Mota, who are both in the audience today. And we hope to be able to deliver this to the market very soon on net zero emission lines at dedicated facilities. So we're putting all the infrastructure in place to allow the brand owners and the market to facilitate their goals and their achievements.
Excellent, and that brings me directly to Jürgen.
Okay.
For all those targets are fantastic and great to hear for the brand owners in the room. But how do we enable the feedstock? The great question, yeah, so that we can have the recycled content in the yogurt cups.
Yeah. So first of all, you guys put 500,000 tons of HIPS packaging into the European market. So there is enough there. Unfortunately, until now, it was just recently captured. So in Germany, I don't know, some of the sorting plants, they had a PS sorting unit, but all modern ones, they do have a PS sorting unit, a purification unit, so that we do have a good HIPS out of these modern sorting centers. Yes, some European countries, in East, for example, they need to develop a little bit more the sorting technology, but that to come. We have rules, we have quotas to fulfill in Europe, and not only in Germany or in Western Europe. So more and more have fully understood, and then now it's a bit broader than PS, all material which is recyclable, we have to sort out. Full spot, full point, right? Point. All modern sorting plants, as I said, they do sort out PS. It is heavily extended. Countries, they collect PS more than in the past. We have the quotas, and one is, of course, always important. Quotas is nice and so on. But with this success SCS has got the last 3-4 years, there is such a huge demand, which in my world, in the recycling and sorting world, is fully understood. And as soon as you have a demand, why we burn the PS and pay 150 euro to the incinerator? If Jens, for example, or Ian or whomever would love to take it and pay me some money. So, and this trend is in my industry entirely in, and now it's a kind of rollout. Simple. Hopefully with our sorting technology, but it is relatively simple.
Excellent. Can we have maybe a little bit a picture from the different markets? France, Florian, you represent here also France as a country.
Yeah, just when Yoplait launched in France in 2021 3 ranges of yogurt using 50% of recycled polystyrene, that was really to demonstrate the feasibility of it. In fact, just to say it's feasible, so it's in the market, commercial scale. Now, in fact, the proof of concept is done, so now Yoplait is willing, in fact, to contribute to accelerate the shift from proof of concept to industrial scale. So that's really the question. And when it gets to industrial scale, that's not an individual work, that's a collective work, that's a collaboration all across the value chain. And within that I would say, collective work, you do have individual responsibility as a member of this value chain. So for a brand owner, you have in fact 2 main responsibilities. The first one is you have to put on the market packaging that are compatible with the recycling infrastructure. So that's what you just discussed. And on the other end, the other responsibility is to use this recycled content that is getting out of the recycling infrastructure, if it is food contact, of course. So to get there and to speak about France, within the consortium Polystyrene 25 that I mentioned, really brand owners are united behind polystyrene just to keep polystyrene in the market, so to keep the feedstock, so that recycling actors can invest because the feedstock is there and brand owners are agreeing to keep it, to make it recyclable at scale. And then when it gets to recycled content, within Saint-Diffray, which is our trade organization for fresh dairy product, all brand owners committed to use that recycled polystyrene. So really, the idea is just to play our role on the feedstock and on the end market. So that's what's happening in France. What can I can answer?
I think, to chime in, France is an excellent example, Florian, and it can even serve a bit as a case study how it's to be done. Yeah, even if it came a bit also under pressure and regulatory changes, and with the commitment of our industry by 25 to have all our Styrenics packaging, polystyrene packaging recyclable, yeah, in order to really comply to that, which I think is a huge commitment, but we are confident we will get there. But I can also tell that next to France, this has been heard also in Switzerland, which is, by the way, my home country, but there's an initiative also forming up, and they are working pretty hard on the same issue, a round table with all the stakeholders from sorting collection up to brand owners and then the market. And also in Germany, there's with big dairy brand owners, I think most of you know them, all the big ones, but also all the smaller and mid-sized brand owners in German dairy, in milk, in dairy, in yogurt pot, together with the industry association, SCS is involved here to turn yogurt pots circular. Yeah, and this is also progressing very good, very speedily, all for the better of accelerating our circularity. But again, coming back to France, I think a great case study how it should work in order to even link later on with EPR system and all that to get your molecules back into the secondary life.
Which further brings me to the question, which further initiatives or incentives are needed, Jens, in order for polystyrene to follow the same path as PET bottles?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is not a dream or not somewhere a vision anymore. Yeah, but you heard already about that yogurt pot to yogurt pot, tray to tray, and XPS tray to XPS tray. And this combined with our excellent, let's say, sortability, food contact, and then working really dedicated on closed or at least controlled loop principles, and somewhat what Jürgen also said, being able the individual yogurt pot or the individual white hips flake to sort it out, which all will trigger this bottle to bottle, copy paste, tray to tray, pot to pot, and let's see what's next. I think that's important. Yeah, and the closed and controlled loop coming into the volumes also, I think, is for many of the brand owners, first of all, but then for the market and the end consumer doing something good to collect and sort and bring the yogurt pot back. I think there's a lot of, as mentioned this earlier, marketing potential also inside. Because not many polymers can do that. Next to the bottles, it's us, it's Styrenics.
All right, and about design for recycling, again with this mindset of going the extra mile, making our feedstock go further to further extent. Question, design for recycling. We have 3 different technologies, recycling technologies in place. Which one of the 3, depolymerization, dissolution or mechanical recycling, would benefit the most from design for recycling optimization?
Well, this is also a good question. This is a novel technology, so Jens explains very well that it will be the future to open the food market. But all of 3 have one point in common. That is, they need overshorting and they need mechanical recycling or mechanical pretreatment. So as eco-design is focused on these protocols for recycling, mechanical recycling that we are currently having today in Europe, so all of these 3 technologies will benefit to improve the eco-design. This is as easy as it is, because at the end we are always looking the purity of styrene.
Maybe to
Go ahead, Jürgen.
Very simple example. The majority of the yogurt pots, they have an aluminium lid. In a mechanical recycling, the aluminium we could take out, but it's not the product. So it's a side stream which contains some other things and so on. But definitively it will not end up in a styrenic product. The same is for dissolution or depolymerization, or the paper inside, or the yogurt inside, or whatsoever. So
because the lid gets sorted out first, yeah? The aluminium lids gets first fraction.
Exactly. So as David said, a paper around the yogurt inside, the aluminium lid, is at least putting the yield down for all recycling processes.
So having said that, what would you estimate, David, how much further feedstock can be made available, how much further material can be recycled if the entire value chain implemented the design for recycling guidelines?
Well, as always, the idea is to follow the design for recycling guidelines to improve all these kind of features like aluminium, etc. So if we follow these rules, so we make an estimation of about from 15 to 20% of more quantity of feedstock available to the market. So the converters will be more than happy to get this material, but not only this material with higher quality. So well, this is the idea at the end.
Okay, excellent. And quality, higher quality is for me also the key buzzword now. SES has said that polystyrene can be recycled over and over again. Would like to hear from Jens, maybe you can speak on a depolymerization technology, how much that can be done. Maybe Solène here in the audience could speak about dissolution, and Jürgen and Ian about mechanical recycling, how much stress is put in the extrusion process, and when does polystyrene degrade? Over to you for depolymerization.
Yeah, it's something I would agree to over and over again, maybe not infinitely, but at least in many, many circles. And if you look on the facts that we will start with 10, 20, 30, maybe later 40, 50% of recycled content, and look a bit at the volumes of polystyrene which are in the market, and this renewable fact in collection, sorting and feedstock, it is over and over again. Yeah, and especially in depolymerization, of course, it's even more compared to the other two, because you go back to the monomer and the molecules, and therefore even this, what I said before, and depolymerization on your question is even a bit further minimized. So I would say yes, over again. For depolymerization, at least full agreement, Chrissy.
Alrighty, over to Solène, who is from Polystyrene and the expert here in the room for dissolution.
My name is Solène Brouard, and I'm the founder of Polystyrene. We have developed a dissolution technology to set a circular economy in polystyrene, just like my colleagues. And our technology include a purification process that allows us to remove any kind of contaminant, including the aluminium, as mentioned, but also the color, the pigment, the rest of food, the other plastics, and so on. Any kind of contaminant we can remove. Obviously, we did pass the change test and the migration test, so our technology is suitable for food contact. And we are located in Montreal, Canada, but we feel a very strong commercial traction in Europe. So we are in the process of building higher capacity in Canada, and we export our technology to Europe in order to participate to the circular economy of Styrenics plastic.
Can you mention a little bit about the stability? How much does recycled polystyrene degrade? Yeah, what are the properties?
Yeah, indeed. So our dissolution technology do not change the molar chain of the polystyrene. This is just a change of state from solid to liquid to solid again. So we keep the entire chain. We do not damage the polystyrene at all. And this is what allows us to keep the mechanical properties of the HIPs that is extremely suitable for yogurt cups.
So it can be recycled over and over again. You would support that statement?
Indeed, over and over. We didn't find a limit to our recycling.
Strong statement. Wonderful. Thank you, Solène. And with that, over to Jürgen. What are you seeing in mechanical recycling? How stable is our polymer?
Because yesterday I made a similar statement, and Sven, for example, as being one of the specialists here, he didn't raise his finger. So what I understood is that if you have a virgin polystyrene in the HIPs, and you don't use it, and you put it over and over again in an extruder, so the thermal thread into and so on, you can recycle without losing properties much more than 20 times. Try this with polyolefin, 6 times done, even without use. So that is something special in PS. The second one is, it is a process in between. So if you have a very dirty process and you put by dirty washing, by not having a good extruder or super clean process or whatsoever, you leave a lot of dust and dirt in the product. Then, of course, it's 1 or 2 or 3 times, and then because of the dust and dirt, because of the process was not good.
And that is true for all the products,
That
right?
is, for all the products, it's the same. So from that point of view, 27 times, 30 times in an extruder, not a problem without losing properties.
And that having said, when you take 100% polystyrene and you recycle these 100% polystyrene product over and over again, now the market reality will probably be that not every brand owner incorporates directly, although possible, 100% polystyrene into the yogurt cups by 2025, but will go with maybe the mandatory recycled content that will be established 30% or so.
Yeah, and that is not a problem at all.
And then it's not a problem at all. Wonderful. Ian, over to you that question.
Well, I think this is where the miracle keeps on giving, right? So there are lots of companies, we see it in the news on different websites, where corporations want to become independent from fossil fuels, okay? And we've just heard that with polystyrene, it's infinitely recyclable. So with other polymers, you actually don't get that. After 4 or 5, 6, 7 cycles, the material's dead. So it's continually needing to be backfilled by fossil fuels to facilitate the recycled material being available on the market. Recycled polystyrene in its mechanical format can coexist with fossil fuels because it is infinitely recyclable, and the more material that comes into that circularity economy will allow our corporations to actually achieve this target. So it's actually the only polymer which allows us to do that. Unique.
Fantastic. I give the last word here to Florian. What else would be needed from you, from your brand owner standpoint, to really build a thriving circular economy for polystyrene in your yogurt cups or in your dairy products?
I think what's needed, in fact, is to be fast. I think we have all the pieces. It has been discussed. Proof of concept is there. We have the technologies. We have the feedstock. We have the knowledge. So at the end of the day, we have the cups, by the way. So really, what we need now is to go faster. We were already fast, but to get to the extra mile, and then I think it really gets also to get to a national collection of polystyrene. That was your point, and the fact that because it's you have this circular potential, you need to have each sorting center that is selectively taking this polystyrene out, because we need to raise feedstock, because we have plenty of industrial projects on the plate, plenty of them. So you need to feed them with the right feedstock. So national collection to systematically sort polystyrene from sorting center, and then we can get to scale very, very quickly, because that will feed the projects that are on the plate.
And scale is, for me, the buzzword here. There is probably a lot of interest to hear what are the capacities that would feed the recycled content solution. We have our members here in the room, and I would like to put the microphone over to our members, namely Nicolas Joly, if I may ask you from Trinseo, what kind of capacities are you building up? What are you doing to bring recycled content into the market? Yeah, please.
Fast, as Florian said, right? Fast. So hi, Nicolas Joly, I'm the Vice President for Trinseo, one of the leading polystyrene producers, also President of SCS. So I agree with everything that's been said. Just to bring a little bit, this is a picture of like our own kind of steel in the ground. But just to speak numbers, to go fast, our confirmed plan today, some of it is here, some of it is not up the screen. Our confirmed plan by 2025 is 80,000 tons of recycled polystyrene by 2025. That's that's what's confirmed plan today. There's all the things we work on that could be, raise that up to 150, which that's not yet completely confirmed.
And that is Trinseo only. Yeah,
that's just us. I don't know what other guys are doing. I mean, I hope they do as much.
For sure.
All right, let's bring it to Stefano. Stefano, please introduce yourself.
Thanks so much. We hold here that 2019 can be recognized as a starting point for this activity. We started in 2019 with a retrofitting on our existing plant in Mantova using recycling material. Next year we will have another capacity, and in Versalis want to be also a recycler for between the end of the 2015. So we, together with the Italian system, we will create a lead and cooperate to create an Italian hub of exceeding, let me say, 80 kiloton of recycled material. So this is absolutely a transformation of the company, and we are so proud to be part of the SCS.
And the technology is?
All the technology will refer to mechanical recycling.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you all.
Can I have, Sven, sorry for this one. You know what you just said, I remember me on the first evening 5 years ago. And I was the only one in between all your petrochemical guys and telling why the hell you don't try mechanical recycling. So
all right, do it. Please.
Chemical industry has to reply because we have to reset our mindset because we are chemists. So we were absolutely in doubt at the beginning. And so, but really starting from 2019, retrofitting of existing plant together with recycled material. So this was the combination, the starting point of our journey. Thanks.
And how fantastic is it to have the problem which one to choose? Which opportunity, which technology to choose to go back to food contact. Sven, over to you from Ineos Dilution, please.
Thank you very much, Chrissy. My name is Sven Riechers. I'm the Vice President for the standard products in Europe, so polystyrene, ABS. We just updated our sustainability strategy ahead of the K-Show, which consists out of 3 pillars. So by 2030, we want to reduce our carbon footprint by 1 million tons of CO2. The second pillar is we want to bring 500,000 tons of eco-product into the market containing recycled or renewable feedstock. And what is really, really important to us, and we talked about it, it's about food contact. So we want to make sure that the products we're bringing to the market are safe and fully regular compliance. On the 1 million tons of CO2 footprint, we're going to use recycled materials, renewable materials. We're changing all our electricity already since 2 years fully back to green energy. On the 500,000 tons of recycled product, we're going to use mechanical recycling, depolymerization, and really the whole basket of technologies, which is so wonderful about Styrenics. And we have put a lot of effort really adding additional lab capacity, really to ensure that the products are going to be safe, because that's always priority number 1 for us. And we truly believe, as a global leader in Styrenics, Styrenics are made for recycling.
Alrighty, and you have emphasized so much the CO2 footprint. Maybe a comment here, because we have not really touched too much on this. We have done, as SCS, a LCA analysis for all the 3 technologies and have seen, even when we go back to food contact quality, which requires a bit more sorting. Yeah, you mentioned it in the beginning that we need to go back to food contact
I'm
origin.
for sure the less CO2. We take 1 kilowatt per hour energy. So I think there are more steps in the value chain which need more energy than the sorting.
And what we have found here, just to throw out a couple of numbers, the CO2 equivalent emissions for depolymerization stands at 75% savings versus incineration or virgin production. The same goes for dissolution. We have used the dissolution technology of polystyrene, and mechanical recycling, Jürgen, you will love it, is the winner with the 80% CO2 equivalent savings.
Then tell me something I didn't know.
Alrighty.
Chrissy, maybe let's make sure to capture this again, because I think we jump too short in a way CO2, and that's all recognized, and even most likely we come to carbon neutrality. That's great news. But at the current environment and knowing the value chain and the current depression, the inflation, the high energy cost and all that, what Jürgen said, how much kilowatt hours you burn, I think what we just heard also from the companies here is such great news, because you have a low carbon footprint. You cut on fossil resources. You are not dependent on oil and gas. You have basically your feedstock in the market. Yeah, this I think is something really which gives a great, let's say, additional incentive, even despite the current maybe prevailing depression and a bit of high energy cost, but to still go into recycling because it is less cyclical, it will be less volatile, maybe even converters even get better prices at the end of the day. But at this point in time, I would really say that's great news that you somewhat are less dependent on fossils, and whatever is to complain about currently, in future, this will solve a lot of problem, and you do something also for the planet. So, in summary, we come back to the marketing aspects of the whole story.
And I know what you are going to say already. PS has it all.
It's happening now.
Alrighty, I would like to put now the questions over to you in the audience, and I put the Slido slide here again, and I will open up my laptop to see which questions have come in from you, so that we can give our audience the voice. And actually, Jens, you touched upon this. If I start with the first that I have here, in the context of the threat of the economic crisis, what constants can the Styrenics sector rely to implement its circular economy strategy?
Yeah, this refers to my last comment, and in a way, in a sense, also invest in circularity and recycling is underlying similar principles and then invest in the, let's say, old technologies, to say so. However, I think this what we have achieved already with our polymer and all the properties, the technologies, will not go away. And we heard today, I think, in a way, and this is not only the industry, also in the politics and the regulatory, a lot of timelines are now stretching a bit from the prevailing current environment from 25 to 2030. But on my earlier statement again, I think we are less cyclical in circularity, and what you have seen and what was commented, also invest is less dependent on the prevailing and maybe also economic outlook. It has a certain impact. It might delay by 1 or 2 years. I would not argue on that with all those guys here. But in a way, I think the route is clear and the prerequisites are given, and it's the right and the timing is good to go into circular products now and invest into technology, and also, as Jürgen said, in sorting, collection, in marketing, all those, because it will be the winning principle of the future.
Excellent. And just to state that, you're welcome to put in your name and your company, but also feel free to ask anonymous questions. And this one is here from General Mills. Where is the scale up of collection to commercial scale happening today, and which countries do you see collection happening in the near future? Over to Jürgen, which is the scale up to collection to commercial scale happening today? In which countries do you see collection happening in the near future?
So at the moment, Germany has already increased in between the last years, roughly the double amount being collected. More to come, because in Germany we have the trend that, you know, we do have 10 green dot systems and not like some of your countries, just one, kind of monopolism. They are fighting a bit. We have from all the retailers and the brand owners the demand to get all materials recycled. We build capacity of sorting plants of 120,000 tons a year, and then it's mandatory to take all recyclables out. Of course, including XP, EP, SRN, GPP, and HIPS. So all is taken out. In the very modern ones, and someone told about the Swedish plant, they do already separate in the next phase, which is start up next year. EPS separate, HIPS separate, so that's a trend. I see the same in France as a good example, in Italy to come, in Belgium definitively already in place, in all the Scandinavian countries. So, as I said, the plants are getting bigger, and then it makes sense to take everything out. In the past, it was the capacity of sorting centers 10,000 tons of yellow bin in Germany. The yellow bag in Germany has 50% Tetra Pak and aluminium and dust and dirt in. So the amount of PS was 150 tons a year. But as the plants are getting now to these 100,000 tons, it's already 1,500 tons a year. So that makes sense to invest in a small sorting machine, probably. So that is the trend we see all over Europe.
And I have here a second question that goes into the same direction. What can be done to improve the collection of foamed polystyrene trays? So I guess that refers to XPS, what we have also recently announced. What can be done to improve the collection of foamed polystyrene trays across Europe, as you reported from Italy?
So foamed PS, XP and EP, especially from the separate collected stream, the yellow bin, was not, until now not touched at all. Simply because it was a little bit dirty, there was no application. The first big sorting center in Germany is doing this. At the moment, the foamed material is going back into isolation material. But within SCS, we have started trials a couple of months back or a year back already. First of all, to separate the EP from the XP. I was told to do so. And, already the first trials have started and successfully started to put XPS trays back to XPS trays, to put EPS back to EPS. So that is, again, something, any kind of styrenic material can undergo this way. The only, and to be very honest now, the only thing where we have from the yellow bin sometimes a bit issues is the connection from one special type of styrene material with batteries. That's the only issue. So ABS, because you have these batteries sometimes. The rest is on its way. We can sort it, we can split it, we can separate it, and it will come soon.
Any comment from your side, Jens, to that?
No, I can only agree what Jürgen said. I mean, it's we always have a bit of a chicken-egg discussion, the market, and then it comes. But I think the signals we have now, and also from the technical prerequisites, there are no limits in a way. And it's now on the market, on the value chain, really to develop those and somewhat also boost those technologies, but not a matter of any kind of mission impossible. The opposite is the case. It's all there. Yeah, we just have now to connect the dots.
Yes.
Excellent. I see there are a lot of same questions or questions that are going into the same direction for collection and sorting. That is really the core that the value chain is working on to get all the molecules back. And that's what we are talking about.
One last comment to that, Chrissy, if you allow. Our vision or mission is that at the moment, a lot of valuable materials is still landfilled or burnt in Europe. And of course in Asia or in US even more, and so on and so on. And that is our mission, that we want to protect, and that is the reason for being now transferred from TOMRA sorting to TOMRA feedstock. And the name, feedstock is logically. So we want to ensure and support heavily that any valuable material is captured, is sorted out, or separate collected or whatsoever, and not being burnt or landfilled, because then it's gone. So that is our mission. And then we talk about, just in Germany, to give you a figure, we burn in Germany as one of the market leaders in recycling and circularity and everything. We burn more than 3 million tons of plastic. So that's, especially for Germany, it shouldn't be like that. And that is what we want to achieve, to get all the recyclables out. Unfortunately, it's not 3 million tons of PS, Jens, but...
Still, I would say it's a sin.
All right, we have here a question from Citeo. We touched upon that initially, but it's an important one and probably on the hearts of a lot of people. So maybe just, where did it go? Did it move up? It is now changed on my screen. There was a question of Citeo. And it was, anyhow, I don't have the question in front of me, but it was about the new regulation, the change of food contact for mechanical recycling. Maybe you could summarize what it means for us.
Yeah, maybe to start over in general on regulation. Yeah.
So they say here, is it regarded
yeah.
as an opportunity? How do you see the last regulation about food contact perspective? So I guess that is the new one that just entered into force last Monday. How do you see the regulation, as an opportunity or a risk?
I would see it as an opportunity, especially what I said earlier, that the former regulation 282/2008 was really a bit of stone-aged, that really something now is happening. And even the older regulation was never conclusive on the fact that you had your EFSA opinions positive and got the EC approval on that. The EC never approved any kind of EFSA opinion, mainly on PET, never. So it was always stuck and incomplete. So for the new one, with positive and optimism and start working more or less immediately. It all comes on the value chain, on the developers, operators to apply via local competent authority to EFSA, and then of course getting the notifications done and the registration, and then in best case in 24 months time, while sharing data on way towards always permanently with EFSA becoming suitable technology. It might take a bit longer, yes, but I would still say it's a huge opportunity because we now have a regulation which really the industry, and especially us, since we are quite advanced, is able to work with. And I think what is very important, but this is for general regulatory also, do we need more regulation? No. Do we need better regulation? Maybe, yeah. But I think it's really in a way that the regulation we have to work, and most likely on the existing regulation, that we create this atmosphere and the spirit of confidence and certainty for the industry, for the value chain, to really go and invest. Right now I feel it, but it's also an ongoing exercise for us, and I look at you, Ken, also with those regulations to permanently work, stay in dialogue with the policymakers. And the second important point is speaking with one voice for the plastics industry. It's not only polystyrene, it's all of us, and it's the other associations, as you know. We all have to collaborate, to network. What are we doing right now more intensively in order to put our voice forward and also our invest requirements and certainty requirements to the policymakers, that we don't find ourselves a bit often inconsistent and maybe temporary situation where, of course, nobody dares to do something and better waits. And as we said earlier, it's the best time now to start and not to wait.
Excellent. And in short, the question to, or the answer to Citeo, you see it as an opportunity.
I see it as an opportunity.
For PS. Wonderful. We had here another question on regulation, and that went to, again, those questions jump here in front of my eye as new ones come in or people are liking. There was a question regarding harmonization of design for recycling. Maybe, David, you can take this one. I don't have the exact question in front of me. Yes, how do you help harmonization of design for recycling on a European level?
So harmonization is a must. I mean, this is one of the pillars for recyclage. We cannot play different rules in dependent country. So this is clear. So it's quite difficult because each country is different, they have different structures, but we need the same rules, the same playing level field. This is for me the most important point today, because we are one. Europe is one, but we have many countries and different legislation. So we are working on it, and if not, the market will create some distortions that will not accelerate this process. So for me, this is the key point. Yeah.
Excellent. And then there was another question on design for recycling while we are at it. What are the costs for the brand owners to follow these design guidelines?
The cost, this is something that can be evaluated case by case, but of course the benefits will be higher than the cost. The cost to change, I don't know, whatever, an adhesive or a label, or could be evaluated. But the benefits always is, like we were explaining before, they have the brand owners have different tools, like a marketing tool to avoid greenwashing. Even the cost, it will be less because in the future the bonus malus will come. So if you put a more recyclable plastic packaging in the market, will pay less than other that is not has this recyclability. This is something that has sense to do. So this is one of the advantage, but also at the end the consumer is waiting for a plastic packaging that is sustainable. So the benefits always are higher than the cost. This is my
Excellent. I'm aware that maybe we don't have the time to touch on all of the questions, but there are two more that I would like to maybe give a quick answer on. One is, what is the price for recycled polystyrene and how do you view its development, the price development? The converter who's selling the recycled polystyrene into the packaging?
So pricing is never an easy topic, but what we can see as a trend is that recycled material always has a premium versus fossil material. That's not only the case for polystyrene, it's the case for all polymers currently. Okay, so that needs to be recognized. Also, we've also got to remember that there are a lot of things which offset these costs, which CO2 emissions, pricing stability versus volatility, and the possibility to be decoupling yourselves from fossil fuels. So yes, there is a price. We're not going to hide from that. There is a price. Eventually, there will be a market, and depending on availability and supply and demand, the market will regulate itself. But it'll be no different from any other polymer. So I don't think it's a differentiating factor when choosing your route and your options moving forwards.
Wonderful. And the last one, I think this is over to Jürgen. You mentioned it briefly. Can you explain again how you distinguish food material from non-food material in the sorting process? So food material in the waste.
Yeah, it's similar to many of you have a modern phone, and you can switch, to get it on, you have a face recognition. And you are totally surprised if you wear sunglasses, a cigarette in your mouth, it always recognizes you. That's object recognition. And we use the same technology. So we have a very high-speed camera which gets object pictures, shapes, a brand name, a color, all these things, as I said before, we can see with our eyes. So an example in HDPE, to make it very simple, white HDPE, you have one very big issue, silicone cartridges, which are white. But they are so unique in HDPE. They have all over the world the same format. Tube, 5 centimeter or whatever that is, and 30 centimeters, sometimes a bit squeezed. So it's so easy to see for us, and then as well for the computer, this is a silicone cartridge. And then we take it out. So it's like face recognition, like, Google or Microsoft, they can distinguish all European people or 1.7 billion Chinese people. Easy. They recognize each and anybody by face. And that's the same technology.
And that is not a problem. That is good to hear, because for mechanical recycling it is important to have that in place, because the waste that is being sorted and then mechanically recycled needs to stem from at least 95% food contact materials. Yeah? So that is the background. Having said that, we're coming to an end, and before I let you go into the dialogue forum to ask all the remaining questions that you have one-on-one to the panelists that will be then available, but also other experts that we have here in the room, I would like to put one last short question in front of each of you. And if there is one thing that you wish for in order to get recycled polystyrene faster into market products, what would that be? Jens?
Me first.
The first one.
I think you all know the movie Back into the Future, Marty McFly. Yeah? So let's say I travel to 2030, we'll check, I see a lot of Rolls Royces, I think, in the market cruising around on Styrenics, but I could take it from there and see how it's being done. I'm confident it will be done. It will be mission accomplished, latest by then, most likely earlier. But on the here and now, and next to Back into the Future, I would say I come back to the regulation, the dialogue, the regulators, the consistency and the certainty in order to create let's call it the nursing ground for our circular ambition. This is my here and now wish.
And for Jürgen, your
All
one
the time
wish.
thinking about my answer. You know, starting with when I would have tried to get Sven, you, Tunseo, and Claudio on the phone 5 years back, the cat of the dog of the housekeeper would have rejected me. So we have already achieved a lot, that all of us are talking to each other, and that is the key for everything. The wish I would have is a little bit faster decision. You know, as we all said, the technology is there, the market improvement is there, the product is there. We know the prices, Ian, at least you know. So everything is in place, and that is already, you know, I don't know, 12 months back that everything's in place. So then, again, you know, the dialogue between you guys, the petrochemicals, and us, the pure sorting people and waste people, a bit faster decision, that's it. The material is there, technology is there, everything is there.
David?
Yeah, well, I totally agree. I mean,
Good.
I can see it's always the same in this case. So I can see the plastic industry doing their job in eco-design. I'm totally sure that it's going to improve. So we need to be faster in legislation. The legislation framework is in favor. This is true, but we need to be fast. And of course, increase the collection everywhere, we told also. And of course, the main point for me and for everybody is to open the food markets. So because we have been recycling polystyrene many years, but the market is not there. There is a lack of market today. So well, everybody knows that we need to open, in the case of polystyrene, the food content. So this is my wish.
Wonderful. Ian, your wish.
Well, I know it's not Christmas yet, but if I had one wish, I want polystyrene to be taken off the naughty list. We need NGOs to revise the decisions that they took some years ago. Those decisions with the science and the facts today are redundant decisions. They're almost negligent as we stand here today. And we need them revised, and we need to be put on the good list. There's nothing worse in business than a bad decision, but there is something worse than a bad decision. It's the stubbornness not to rectify it.
Wonderful. Ian.
Après vous.
Can I say that you pick mine? No?
I can see your nose.
No, but I totally agree. And I think that was also part of my wish, just objectivity, look at the fact, not at history. So, but I need to pick another one. So I will get to, in fact, we need to have these recycling facilities at scale. You know, that's really what we need. That's already what I'm saying. So what I wish is to have these recycling plants operational as quickly as we can. So I already mentioned that, but I think it's quickly important. And that will just demonstrate that, when you look at facts, the potential of circular polystyrene.
Excellent. And I mean, with that, I think we have come in good SCS style, full circle, from 2019, where we were discussing that polystyrene may have it all, to polystyrene does indeed have it all, and even a step further, it is happening now. So with that, I would like to thank you, our panelists, thank you, an audience, for your questions, and would like to invite you to continue any questions, any discussion points that you have, to continue these at our dialogue forum outside over a cup of tea or cup of coffee. And I would also like to make a quick announcement. We have some posters out there that you may have seen coming in. So we will have some experts, Claudio here from Versales, that is happy to take you through the closed loop recycling of polystyrene, of foamed polystyrene trays outside. Then we have a poster on the ABA structure. There's Gonzalo somewhere here in the room, Ian, exactly. Then we have, I saw Herman here, who can speak about the circularity metrics that can also enable us to expand our feedstock available to go back into recycled content. We have, I've seen Sören Hörnecke here from Camelo, who is also working with SCS on a project in order to locate and optimize circular feedstocks that go into recycling. And of course, here, our members that are scaling up capacity and bring recycled content into the market. So with that, I wish you all a fantastic discussion over a nice cup of coffee. Thank you for joining us today, and more to come. Stay tuned. Thank you.